I think a lot of the landscapes that I'm drawn to have that sense of the kind of forces of nature, that dynamic movement of landscape set against a kind of human endeavour. I made this large woodcut collapsed whaling station on an expedition that I made to Antarctica. And it's actually a volcanic crater that's collapsed, that's a natural harbour and was formerly used as a whaling station. So the house that we can see here is Biscoe House, which is a dormitory that would have been used for the whalers. The volcano erupted and crushed the building, so it was unusable and it was abandoned. When I arrived on Deception Island and saw this scene, it felt really kind of apocalyptic and cinematic and dramatic because of the black volcanic terrain. So I sat down and I made a charcoal drawing. Charcoal's great because you can work really quickly, and it's quite a kind of broad media that covers the page quick, because of course literally it could be a kind of howling gale of blizzard and snow, so I had to work quickly. The process of woodcut is a relief process. So you have your piece of wood and you chisel out your drawing marks, which give you a highlight. And obviously the blackness of it comes from when you roll the ink onto the surface of the block. In this case, I used a kind of big sheet of builder's plywood. What I love about woodcut is it's very physical and sort of gives you quite a gestural cut mark. When you're cutting with the grain, it's easy to cut in a sort of straight line. But when you cut against it, it really kind of tears the wood and is more restricting. So it gives quite a characteristic look to the printed image. And woodcut, you can kind of expand your scale because you're not using a press. You can print by burnishing the back of the paper on the block. So it enabled me to kind of go big. I made Lead, which is an intaglio print, in 2014. It was actually the year I'd come back from my second expedition, in fact to learn that I'd been made an RA. When I was travelling on HMS Protector, which is an icebreaker, it was really exciting because it could actually slice through the sea ice, and I spent most of my time actually hanging off the bow of the ship, leaning over and looking at that, because it was incredibly graphic. It's a sort of white landscape with this sort of dark slash through it, which would kind of lead your eye up to the horizon. Once you'd hit the ice, it would sort of slide apart, a bit like a sort of jigsaw puzzle. It was mesmerising. One of the themes that I felt was central to the show was ruination. And we have several works on display here from the Royal Academy Permanent Collection. There's a photograph that I particularly find compelling, which is of the main galleries which have been bombed in 1917. We can also see some other drawings and prints, such as the George Clawson showing a dilapidated cottage, and indeed Norman Stevens' Broken Gate. Other major themes that I immediately thought obviously were extreme weather. We've got a wonderful Norman Ackroyd of St Kilda at the end, and also a William Daniel of the Eddystone Lighthouse, really kind of turbulent storm. I think the most poignant case for me is the two photographs of the Scott team who of course reached the South Pole only to find that the Norwegians had reached there first. And you can see in their faces the challenges of that journey. They look completely broken. I think I'm preoccupied with representing environments undergoing change and transformation because I'm living through a period where this is rapidly happening, and I can see that, you know, we can all see that. And I feel an impulse as an artist to actually try and capture something of what I'm witnessing on the page. Antarctica is so extraordinary, it's otherworldly. I came back quite changed. I think it puts a perspective on our existence as a species and what the future holds.